Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be making a basic Elizabethan coif. Materials you will need for this project include scissors or some type of cutting edge, a straight edge or ruler, a pattern. I have found that the butterfly coif works best with 20 inches as the widest, 18 at the narrowest, and 10 inches high. You will need about 1/3 of a yard of white linen. If you've embroidered something, then your embroidered pattern on linen, and we're going to cut this out according to the pattern. I will also need a casing along the bottom of the coif to add the drawstring at the end. I find that 2.5 inches is a good size. I have my 3 pieces, my lining, my embroidered fabric, and my casing. I'm going to start by finishing the edges on what will be my casing, and I'm going to finger press that. It will end up sandwiched between my lining and my outside fabric. For right now, I'm just going to do a solid stitch on the lining using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I'm ready to add my embroidered fabric or plain white fabric, whichever you are using. And I'm ready to sew that down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to leave a small section opened at the bottom so I can turn the coif right side out when I'm finished sewing the inside. Now that it's all sewn, we're ready to turn it right side out. Here's our casing edge. We're going to give that a quick pressing and then sew this down. The top of the coif is finished with about a 5-inch seam and some little cartridge pleats to make the poof for the back. I have finished this one by hand, but you can also do it using a sewing machine. I'm using regular thread, and I'm going to put my points together. In this section, I'm going to create some small pleats, tiny little cartridge pleats. I like to use Dual Duty by Coats & Clark, but you can use any relatively heavyweight thread. And now you can see our cartridge pleats and what will be our little poof. But how do we make that? Remember our casing we put in? We're going to put a cord through that. I like just plain old cotton cording, but you can get linen cording. You could use silk. You just want something that's going to stay tied when it's tied. A grosgrain ribbon will work just fine as well. It not only needs to condense all your fabric at the back, but you also then want it to wrap around your head a couple of times to help secure it. I find about 60 inches works really well. I'm going to take my trusty bodkin and you can just tie your ends in a knot. You could put points on them. You could finish them in a variety of ways. We're going to put it on the head. And I'm going to take my string in the back, gather that down. Like so. And then this is where the strings go up and around your head. And that gives us our poof that we see in all the paintings. You can see how the top is done with the cartridge pleats and a ladder stitch, and we are coifed.